Hey, everybody, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order for November 30th, 2023 for the Euclid County Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Commission. This calls meeting to order. First, I'd like to make sure that we all go over the minutes that should be up in front of all of us. If you haven't had a chance a minute to look at it.
The only change on the minutes, we changed today's meeting date. So on the second page where it says the meeting was supposed to have been the original date, we will make that change when we turn them in. So that's not on your copy, but we'll make that change as we put them in the backup file.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor? All right, very good. All right, next up, the treasurer's report. Bill?
Yes, thank you. I passed out a treasurer's report for you that will highlight the total balance, and you can see the three encumbrances that we have on the local side with a available balance as of this week of $481,547.45 on the local side. And then on your state side, you can see the expenditures and the revenues that have come in. Again, as a reminder, the state side is what we use to operate Visit Oconee with, so that'll build up, and then we'll pass that over mid-year, and that balance right now is $347,097.19. As part of the treasurer's report, I'd also like to go over just a couple of things with you from a data standpoint. A local snapshot of our local ATAX, you can kind of really see where we started the software program, how things really took off. And it really changed the complexity of how things were received, the numbers of short-term rentals that we're getting. We're now over 800 on a regular basis every month. And I've got another sheet after this, but the pie chart shows you kind of the display of how they're distributed around the county from a local ATAX. 45% of our revenue is through the hotels, 43% short-term rentals, and 12% through the campgrounds. And you can kind of see the last couple of years. The current year that we're in is down 2%. We've had about 4 months in it. It could fluctuate more, but that ceiling is kind of what we're seeing. Is we're right around that million number is kind of where we see us hanging around for a little bit over the next couple of years. Also, just a few takeaways on the short-term rental stuff. This is off of our AirDNA report. You can kind of see the total listings and bookings over the last 12 months. I do have a report that breaks down month by month, so if you're interested in seeing a more detailed report, I can send that to you. But this just kind of shows, that number of listings continues to grow. It does drop our occupancy. Our occupancy was down about 1.3%. As the volume of rentals are available, your occupancy is climbing, but your occupancy rate is dropping because you've got more inventory in the market. So you're saturating the market just a little bit on that occupancy. Even though occupancy is climbing, the occupancy rate is dropping just a little bit, if that makes sense. And then you can see the ADR, the average daily rate over the last 12 months, that continues to climb a little bit over the previous year. So that's kind of an all-in-all of our treasurer's report, showing you the balance and kind of a few data points along the way. Is there any questions on any of that data or the treasurer's report?
Hey Phil, just a quick question. Where are you pulling that data from?
That comes from AirDNA.
Okay.
So it's a software we pay for. And there's 4 or 5 different softwares out there, and I'm sure they're all a little bit different. So we have host compliance in-house from a management standpoint, and with AirDNA capturing on the market side. And I'm sure we're missing a handful here and there, but I've seen a recent program lately that had a little bit more than what we were showing. So there may or may not be a perfect solution out there, but we use AirDNA for this data.
Thanks.
And to be clear, what's the roundabout number of total, or close to total short-term?
Total short-term, it varies per year. So when you look at the month, they flow because people take them on and take them off. But we're anywhere from $780 to $850 in that range through the year. So as they come on and go off the market.
Okay.
Any questions?
On the, just real quick, sorry. Bullet 5, the ADR,
Mhm.
is that short-term or?
That is
everything?
just the short-term rentals.
Okay.
That's not the hotels.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just the short-term rentals, average daily rate when I compare it to Anderson and Pickens. About $393. They're in the $340 range, $330 range.
When will the hotel here in Walhalla be coming online?
I don't have a good update on that. Ken, do you have an update on
I couldn't hear what you said.
The old
Hotel
high school?
alum. Hotel alum.
The alumni?
alumni in?
Oh, that's a long way off. They have a lot of problems with infrastructure and old building, and so it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, I know I think they just got their historical, registry.
Yeah.
And so they're working through that process and making those improvements as they go along. But I have not heard an open date.
But right next door at the Walhalla Performing Arts Center, Mark just got approval to build 4 short-term rentals at the upstairs of the music center,
Wow. Okay.
with a social area as well.
That's awesome.
That'd be fun. Any other questions on the treasurer's report? Would you like me to keep going?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
All right, so we have 2 items today. The first one is a playground upgrade. The swings out at the campground at South Cove, they're roughly 20 years old, obviously get used a ton. And so we have a quote, this is a co-op, state contract co-op quote from Game Time, who does most of our playground equipment, to replace that 3-base structure. It'll be the new rounded playground structure with 3 bays, before regular swings, a top swing, and an expression swing. So the expression swing is the yellow one you see in the picture, where you can have an adult and a child swinging together. We've got one of those each park, it's very popular, and so we want to add another one of those on that piece of equipment. That total is $18,000. And when we did our budget this year, these 2 items, we decided to push back to local ATAX consideration. So. Any questions on that request?
That includes, is that just
That
equipment
is
and
the
installation? or-
equipment and the installation. Our staff may demo it, or we're waiting on them to give us the demo price. So we may demo it, what we got now, and let them do it, or if it's a good number, I may just let them do the whole thing. So,
You're keeping the surface that's already there.
yeah, the surface that's there on that side is just, sand and mulch, so we don't have a pour in place up there yet. One day. Would you like to consider these one at a time, or you want to do them at the end?
We can just do one at a time.
I'll make the motion, we go ahead and fund the 18,000 for South Cove Playground.
I'll second it. All right. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. All right.
And the second one I have today, this is a UTV replacement out at Chaw Rim. We currently have a Polaris out there that's, that was probably my first purchase in 2005 when I came on board. It is their everyday vehicle that goes through the woods and around the park. That's what picks up the trash, that's what does a lot of things for our staff. And it's to the point where it's ready to be replaced. And so, working with our vehicle maintenance guys, we found a Honda, which is, we really like the way it's laid out. One challenge we got at Chaw Rim is it's got to be narrow enough to fit across the bridge, to go across the river. So there's only a couple models that have to drive all the way up 76 and down 76 and around, which is not safe. But this does meet that criteria. And it's also we've got 3 quotes on that, and I have them with me. But 14.8 is the cover of the installation, or the purchase, plus a 10% contingency, just in case something comes up.
And the old one, you're gonna surplus or,
That'll be up to vehicle maintenance.
Yeah.
He just, they recommended it was time to change from a safety standpoint. They may can use it on somewhere in the county that's a little more flat, but climbing and the things that we do on that property,
yeah,
it was time to roll it off of there. So, I know they've done some transmission work on it and different things, but it may like go to another department that's maybe flat or on asphalt or something, they may can use it for a little longer, but it was time for us to roll it out.
okay.
And Phil, are you guys looking to purchase that through a local dealer that can
So
service it?
we send out and request quotes, so we've got 3 quotes that have come in, and we'll post that just like we do all of our stuff. And everybody bids on it that wants to bid on it, and, we go with the low quote unless there's an issue with it. I have, Foothills Motorsports out of Piedmont won that quote.
Are there any other questions or? Then I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve this, $14,800 for the UTV replacement for Charter Run Park.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Yep.
Thank you very much. And just some update stuff for you, and I'll kind of go through each part real quick, what we've got going on. We still got a lot of projects in the queue that are being worked on as we can manage through. We did complete the red building roof out at Charter this year. We also purchased the property. Y'all helped us with the money for that. That's been done and closed and now in our possession. The design for the Shelter 1 is still in progress. I had another meeting with them about 2 weeks ago. They were working on that. When we built the new office at Charter, we created a situation with a new culvert that ran right into where our shelter was. And so we're having to redesign some water management and stormwater stuff as part of that, and that's taking us a little longer. Every time it rains, we have a waterfall. So we're having to kind of create a dry waterfall bed to capture and manure and stuff. And once that's done, we'll be able to determine if we can build a shelter back on top of that or if I gotta move that shelter. So we're still working through that process. The maintenance building, we're gonna revisit that next year. We've got some things, we had a schedule of capital projects, and when that did not go through as we, had presented it, I didn't wanna throw our whole schedule off, so I kept things moving, and we'll come back and revisit this as we can. And then I still am doing a master plan, I'm just behind. So I've got a master plan for that in High Falls that we're still hoping to kick off, possibly this spring. If not this spring, it'll be as soon as the season's over in the fall.
And the master plan is for, I guess, like expansion
It'll
of the
be,
park?
the master plan for Charles Ram will include the existing park. It'll also include the 200 acres that we got under conservation, and it'll include the land up 76 that belongs to the town of Westminster.
Okay.
So they've asked us to include that in our master plan in hopes that if they like how it turns out, they may deed that over from a management standpoint to the park.
And if that all goes through, what would be the total size of the park with
Well,
the
the total
additions?
size of the park now is just under 500 acres.
Okay,
And there's about a mile of the river that's on Westminster's, but it's a very narrow strip, so it's not, acreage-wise, it's not a ton.
yeah,
It's just the right-of-way of the river, enough for a trail.
okay.
And Upstate Forever holds both easements, correct?
Correct.
The real estate property that y'all acquired, was that a restaurant? What space
No,
was this?
so when you cross the creek coming into the park,
Yes,
not out on 76, it's right at our gatehouse.
okay,
There was like a 2-acre swamp parcel on the left
yes,
that went on the market, and they were giving us a informal easement to access that back property easily through our ATV, and we would have lost that if we had not acquired it. So we acquired that property, and we're able now to manage that a little better.
okay.
High Falls, as you know, we completed the point shelter. If you have not seen that, I encourage you to do so. We completed the asphalt for the patio deck. We are currently working on the rec building. Staff has got the inside just about complete, and this winter we will add the new roof. I think I showed you a picture of that at the last meeting. New roof line and covered back porch on that deck. The ACH restoration and design is ongoing. That's another project that didn't pass the way we presented it. We were still able to do some things in-house and shore up some construction concerns we had, and then we'll revisit that total project moving forward. We did get approval from a Duke Energy grant. I'm going off memory here, but it was about $45,000 for shoreline restoration. So we'll be working on some of the shoreline around High Falls. With the boat ramp there and boats taking off, we've got a good bit of cut on the shoreline there. And so we've got some management practices that we've got to put in place and improve. South Cove, again, recreation building was completed this past year. We put in a new septic system on the upper bathhouse in the campground this year. We upgraded the Wi-Fi in the whole park this year. All this you guys remember giving us money for. We did some playground upgrades. This is phase 2, what we're doing now. We're completely redoing the superintendent residence. Right now, we're doing that in-house. And that'll be done. We're kind of acting as our own contractor. Our project manager's handling that, and we've got different things going on. The beach upgrade, the tennis and pickleball, and the courts are all in Duke Energy hands. We've gotten sort of a verbal approval, but we're waiting on that whole consultation process to take place. And they did not approve the courts initially, and a lot of the comments that came back were in favor of the courts, so they reconsidered and allowed the courts, but now we gotta go back and reconsult with the new plans. So I added another 90 days to the process. So we're waiting on that stuff to happen. I have sent all my comments back to them, and hopefully we will get those before too long. On the Hartwell side, everybody knows about Seventh Creek. We also did the paving at Mullins Ford. South Union, we did the shoreline work there, we did the asphalt work there. The dock for South Union should go in literally any day. Last week they were putting the boards on the dock. It's complete. The bulkhead's in, concrete's ready. It's just a matter of he told us by Christmas we should have a dock at South Union, so as soon as they can fit into their schedule. And then the security cameras, if you haven't heard, I've been playing with a few vendors, taking them around. We're challenged with an unmanned location at all, at 10 of those locations. I mean, it's hard to manage unmanned recreation sites. So we have taken a state contract vendor around. We've put together a layout that would put 22 camera poles up at those 10 locations, and there's actually 38 cameras on there. It's a solar system because we don't have power at a lot of those locations. And that's cheaper than trying to run power to a lot of them because it's long roads into them. So we're in that design phase now. I have a meeting this afternoon about it. And once that is complete, it'll go straight to council because it'll be above the number where they've got to vote on it anyway. And so, just so you'll know, I'm looking at about 38 to 40 cameras, over 10 different locations, and right now the number's around 300,000 is what we're looking at. There's a capital lease program that you can do over 5 years, so that price that we pay may only be $60-65 a year for 5 years to cover it. But that's something that we're looking at. Again, council's got to approve it, and there's some pros and cons to the system, obviously. Whether or not you want to spend that much on it or not, it's just something that we think will help as a deterrent. Once they're in there, we will have access to the cameras, and so will the sheriff's office. So it's a cloud-based system that they'll have. It'll be reactive. Nobody's going to sit there and watch it. But if something does happen, then we can pull it and be able to utilize it. So that's just something that we're looking at. Any question on any of our projects?
So, a couple things. So with the security cameras, so basically, I'm just doing hypothetical, right? So let's say, Seneca Creek, I think there's already.
So Seneca Creek is not included in that,
Okay,
because Seneca Creek is gonna be on the university camera system.
okay,
So we've already bought the cameras for Seneca Creek,
yeah,
as part of that project, and we're waiting on the university to get to us in the queue, to get them installed. So
Okay.
the poles are up, I'm just waiting on them to put them up, and then they'll be monitored by Clemson PD.
okay,
So we won't have anything to do with those cameras, that's part of them. That was really lucky for us, because it fell, we had just a small strip of university property there,
yes,
and so we were able to add that completely to their camera system.
okay. So let's say, let's take Mullins Ford.
Mhm.
So the system is installed there. Some nefarious activity takes place. So I guess you said nobody's really actively just watching it. So what is the
So
alert?
let's
that
say that there's a call for vandalism.
Yeah.
You know, we do a police report, we can now go back, the cameras themselves will hold the data for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
We can go back, pull it, share it, save it, you know, create it and save it forever at that point. And then once that's saved, you know, sheriffs, all law enforcement can use it to go forward with their case.
Okay. And with Seneca Creek, I know Clemson been doing some work for the new, I guess, maintenance storage building that they're creating. So, and then they're on the other side where the land right next to Seneca Creek is already being cleared. So are you kept informed about
Yes, so.
that working?
Right beside, you can't really see it in this picture.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side of that picture, you see the green field.
Mhm.
So that green field, as well as the pine trees just to the north, just the top side of that, is all being cleared right now. Phase one, they're building a parking lot for their facilities, division, which has taken over the old testing building, which is across the road. So they're building the retention pond now and that parking lot, and then they're going to clearing while the contractor's on site for the facilities buildings. And I've been a part of that, I've been part of the process of seeing how that affects us, especially from a stormwater management plan.
Yeah.
And then right beside us, when they added lacrosse and gymnastics, they needed a place to put the student rowing, the club team. So NCAA rowing is still where it traditionally was at, but the club rowing team is now gonna be right beside Seneca Creek, between us and the testing building. You can see where they're laying them, putting the pad down, clearing that off, so. And there'll be a few flat docks out there just for their rowing, just like you see at the rowing docks, the rowing
Yes.
club. And I don't know what a time frame. I just know that the grading is now complete, so.
Yeah.
And that's just I believe that's just a metal building that they utilize for their headquarters, the student side. But they're accessing that through the facilities parking lot, not
Yes.
through our parking lot.
Okay.
Any other project questions? So we've got a bunch of events, they're all fishing. So, this winter is pretty busy with fishing stuff going on all at South Cove. I am in a holding pattern at Seneca Creek because of all that. Hopefully as soon as they're done, and I know a date that they're done, we can kind of turn Charlotte loose and start booking, Seneca Creek as well. But right now, we're having to say no to some folks, and we're having to push them to some other areas, to accommodate until we get, the university project complete. That's all the info that I've got today. I've got the meetings for next year. You'll notice the 29th is underlined. Jennifer did call me. This room is already booked on the 29th. So it was already booked when we set our schedule. So we've got two options. We can move it to the day before, the 28th, which is a Wednesday. Or, if you know ahead of time, if you want to do your review and vote all at one time on the 22nd and just have one meeting that cycle. That's for you guys to decide, but that's two options that I wanted to present to you with that being busy that day. They said they would be done at 12, but she couldn't guarantee it, so I didn't want us to try to go back to back and it be an issue with the booking. So if y'all want to consider options on whether to do the 28th or just do one meeting in February, we can make that adjustment on the schedule.
And it seemed like the last time we had that situation where we had to do both in one day, it was pretty seamless when we done it. It wasn't that bad. I mean, I would be in favor of knocking it out the
Yeah, that's
22nd.
totally up to the commission.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, 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 let's do it.
So we will just have one meeting then, February 22nd. Because we're just doing one meeting, I will try to scan the grants, because typically we hadn't been sending them out. We've been waiting till you get here because you had a review time.
Yep.
So we'll try to scan them this time and get them emailed to you. And
I
Penny,
have been scanning.
You've been emailing them too?
I thought I had. Have y'all not been getting
Have you,
them?
have you?
I got it.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I got it.
I thought we cut that out for some reason.
No, I quit printing.
Yeah, so scanning's new.
Yeah.
We quit making copies. I had it backwards. So with that change, I have nothing else for today unless there's questions or,
Couple things, so how has the compliance been for the people who have applied and received the funding? Like, are they staying in compliance with you as far as getting their paperwork and,
for,
like, the ones
For
who?
the grants?
Yeah, for the grants, yes.
well, I mean, we send out reminders when they don't.
I send out reminders to remind them.
It helped us changing it from 60 days to 180 days.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't so, I mean, she would finish one round, it'd be time to start the next round. So that does help a little bit. And then the policy where if you're more than, 2 years behind, you don't qualify, that fixed it. I mean, if they're more than 2 years behind, you know,
They don't get,
they're not qualified to be considered. And I have had to send out 2 emails, I believe, that said, hey, we meet next week, you have a grant in, but you have an open grant that's not finished. If we don't have your final report by next week, then I'll have to take this one off. I think she got it that day.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
but that helped us a lot.
And the last thing is, and this is probably something, in fairness, I want to make sure I'm more educated on, but just kind of following what's been happening with the South Carolina legislature as far as when they was working on legislation. Kevin, you might be on this a little bit as far as when the legislature was working on the short-term rentals, manipulation a little bit there. They kind of scrapped it for this year. But there's a chance that they might bring it back up for the next session next year as far as applying controls to short-term rentals. And with the potential housing situation, recession, all that, it's kind of little factors that I kind of look at is where that could be threatened possibly. And that would affect us big time with the tourism. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there, it's just kind of something to think about, to monitor.
No, and it's real. I mean,
Yeah.
there's already municipalities that really all over, you know, not just South Carolina, but all the states. If you look at it nationwide, that there's a lot of municipalities who are cracking down. And of course, local subdivision with their covenants and restrictions are also cracking down and changing their covenants and restrictions. We've seen it here locally
Yeah.
as well. So, good point. It's, you know, that's why I was asking about where you're getting your numbers too. We get them from a different source, but they're not too far off from where you get them. And there's more, there have been more, listings out there, especially on Kiwi,
Yeah.
than there have been in the past. So the market, I don't know if I'd use the word flooded, but it's more competitive than it has been ever.
And, you know, this year, and I'm going off memory because I wasn't prepared with that request, but there is a small percentage that, you know, workforce housing is now an acceptable use of ATAX funds, but it's a very small percent, like 2%, 3%, something like that. So if there's anything that could aid, but what you're talking about, I'll research a little more,
Yeah.
but I think that would affect our state ATAX numbers coming in.
Yes.
I don't think it would affect our 3% local side,
Okay.
but I'll double check that.
Okay.
I have one quick question on the calendar that you had.
Yep.
The governor's conference, is that here or is that in Green?
The governor's conference, this year is Hilton Head, I believe. I think it's Hilton Head.
Okay.
It stays on here because our staff goes, that's.
Okay. I was thinking if, wow, if Oconee County is hosting
Ah.
that.
We need to clean up.
I didn't
We
say
don't
that.
have,
I was thinking of the
we don't have a
positive.
property quite that big yet.
Yeah, that's where I was a little,
Sure. And I pulled that from another report report that I did, and I probably should do that off.
No, you're fine.
Any other questions for me?
Good.
If not, I certainly wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And we will get back on February 22nd and review and vote on that day for those grants.
And, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?